Morning prayer is not a ritual. It is a steering wheel. And if your hands do not take hold of it before the light reaches your window, your whole day drifts like a ship without a sail. You know this feeling. Your eyes open, but your spirit does not. Your body rises, but your mind is already being chased. The phone glows. The thoughts rush in. The unfinished work returns. The old fear takes attendance. And before your feet have even touched the floor, your peace has already been negotiated away. That is how most people live. They do not begin the day. They surrender it. They do not choose a direction. They inherit a current. They wake inside a fire hose of thoughts and call it normal. They call it adulthood. They call it being busy. They call it responsibility. But here's the truth. It is drift, and drift is expensive. It steals hours. It weakens decisions. It drains courage. It hands the sharpest part of your mind to whatever shouts first. A month of that will wound your confidence. A year of that will blur your purpose. A decade of that will make a gifted person live like a spectator in his own life. And that is why this matters more than people think. You are not fighting a schedule. You are fighting for command. You are fighting for authorship. You are fighting for the right to let heaven speak before the world starts making demands. Pause. Put God first, and the rest of your day will find its order. That is the sentence I want living in your chest before this is over. Because the problem is not just that you get distracted. The problem is deeper. The problem is that many people have trained themselves to ask for guidance only after confusion, strength only after temptation, and peace only after panic. They treat God like a repairman. They call him when something breaks. They ask him to bless a day he was never invited to lead. Now here's the truth. A day cannot be governed by what entered it last. It is governed by what entered it first. An architect drafts the blueprint before the skyscraper rises. A farmer prepares the soil before he asks for harvest. A general decides the formation before the battle begins. And you must decide who leads before the pressure comes. That is why some people are always reacting. They are not evil. They are unprepared. They are talented but ungoverned. They are sincere but scattered. They love God, but they do not put him first in the very hour that sets the tone for everything else. So they spend the day trying to recover what the morning should have secured. Think of the cost. 10 minutes of unguarded waking can become 2 hours of mental fog. One anxious beginning can infect 6 conversations. A hurried first thought can turn into a harsh tone, a weak choice, a lost opportunity, or a decision made from fear instead of faith. You have seen it. A small disorder at dawn becomes a large disorder by noon. That is how inner chaos compounds. Brick by brick, thought by thought, choice by choice. And the tragedy is not only what you lose, it is who you fail to become. Because every morning is a vote. Every morning is a brushstroke. Every morning is a hand holding paintbrushes over the canvas of your life, deciding what color the next hours will carry. Most people paint with hurry. Most people paint with worry. Most people paint with borrowed voices. Then they stand back at night and wonder why the picture feels foreign. But the truth is simple. What you need is not more noise, not more advice, not more motivation clips playing in the background while your soul remains unled. What you need is alignment. What you need is a first act of surrender strong enough to reorder the whole day. What you need is to wake and say, before the world speaks, God, you speak first. And if you will do that, not once, not occasionally, not when life hurts, but daily, deliberately, faithfully, then something begins to happen inside you. The mind becomes less crowded. The spirit becomes less divided. Your emotions stop acting like rulers and begin acting like signals. Your attention becomes cleaner. Your decisions grow spine. Your pace becomes steadier. Your day stops feeling like something that happened to you and starts feeling like something led through you. Put God first, and the rest of your day will find its order. Guard the first minute. Do not wait to feel spiritual. Do not wait to feel ready. Reverence is not the result of a good morning. It is the cause of one. Most people think peace creates prayer. No. Prayer creates peace. Most people think a clear mind leads to God, but here's the truth. God is often how the mind becomes clear. The first minute matters because it is the unclaimed frontier. It is the gate. It is the moment when the old self tries to rush back in with yesterday's weight and tomorrow's fear. Protect it. If you study the life of great builders, they understood beginnings. The Wright brothers did not begin with applause. They began with wind, resistance, doubt, and repeated adjustments to invisible forces other men refused to study. They did not curse the air. They learned its laws. They did not demand instant flight. They respected lift, angle, pressure, balance. And because they honored the unseen, they achieved what the visible world had called impossible. That is how your morning works. You do not master the day by wrestling the whole sky at once. You master it by honoring the first invisible forces: attention, direction, spirit, breath, devotion. Here's the thing: history remembers a few, not because they were less opposed, because they were less casual at the start. You say you want a different life. Then stop letting random thoughts have first access to your mind. When you wake, do not grab the phone. Do not open the gate to the crowd. Sit up, breathe, bow your head, or stand beside the bed if you must. And for 5 quiet minutes, give God the unedited room of your morning. No performance. No polished speech. Just truth. Thank Him. Surrender the day. Ask for wisdom. Ask for clean motives. Ask for strength before pressure, patience before interruption, courage before opportunity, restraint before provocation, and clarity before choice. Then stay still long enough to let your soul arrive. The first voice should be God's. Choose direction before speed. This is where many strong people lose. They move fast. They move early. They move hard, and still they spend the day feeling behind. Why? Because speed is not power when direction is absent. A fast mistake is still a mistake. A busy spirit is still a divided spirit. A full schedule is still empty if the center is missing. Most people believe productivity creates purpose. No, purpose creates true productivity. A blade is not sharpened by swinging wildly. It is sharpened by friction with intention. A muscle is not trained by random strain. It is trained by repeated, directed resistance. A river gains momentum because it knows its course. It does not apologize for its banks. It does not ask the rocks for permission. It moves because direction gives force a path. So let me be plain with you. If you do not decide what matters before the day gets loud, then whatever is loud will decide what matters. Andrew Carnegie built empires, but he did not stumble into significance through accidental effort. He obsessed over definiteness of purpose. He knew scattered energy creates impressive movement and disappointing results. And Napoleon Hill learned from men like that because they understood a law most people spend their lives ignoring. The mind must be organized around a chief aim, or it becomes rented property. Now bring that down into your own morning. After you pray, write the day in simple form, not 50 tasks, not a panicked inventory. 3 things, 3 faithful priorities, 3 acts that would make this day honest before God. What must be finished? Who must be served? What must not be compromised? Write them down, name them in order. Ask God to lead your steps through them. Then move, not with frenzy, with command. You do not need to conquer everything before breakfast. You need to stop living like a servant to interruption. Direction is mercy. Speak life before noise. Words are not decoration. Words are architecture. They frame the inner room you will spend the day living in. Most people think they should speak positively after they feel strong. But here's the truth. Strength often enters through speech. A magnet draws iron toward it. And your words, repeated with belief and submission, begin drawing your mind toward the condition you declare. Not because language is magic. Because language trains attention. Because speech sets expectation. Because the heart follows what the mouth rehearses. Helen Keller lived in silence and darkness until language opened a door in the wall. When Annie Sullivan placed words into her hand, the world changed shape. Water was no longer just sensation. It became meaning, and once meaning entered, destiny had a path. Do you understand the lesson? The world around you may not change in an hour, but the world within you can change in a sentence. So do not let complaint become your morning liturgy. Do not let fear preach first. Do not let insecurity write the script of the day. Stand in your room and say what is true. Say it softly if others are sleeping. Say it firmly if you are alone. God goes before me today. I will not be ruled by fear today. I will act with wisdom, patience, and courage today. The truth is simple. You are not trying to flatter yourself. You are aligning yourself. There is a difference. False confidence says, I need no help. Faith says, I know who my help is. And that difference changes everything. So here is your instruction. After prayer and before noise, speak 3 sentences aloud. 1 about God, 1 about your identity, 1 about your assignment. Keep them short. Keep them true. Repeat them until they stop sounding like slogans and start sounding like pause. Say what heaven says first. Move with your prayer. This is where spiritual talk becomes power. Many people pray and then proceed as if nothing was heard. They ask for direction, then ignore the first step. They ask for strength, then postpone the work. They ask for peace, then reopen the very door anxiety entered through. Prayer without obedience becomes sentiment, and sentiment will not carry a life. Most people think action comes after full confidence. No, confidence often follows obedient movement. Edwin C. Barnes did not wait for perfect conditions before he approached Edison with the audacity of desire. He had no wealthy entrance, no grand title, no guarantee. But he carried an inner decision so definite that circumstance could not talk him out of it. He moved toward the opportunity before the world had validated him. That is why his desire mattered. It was not fantasy. It was disciplined faith in motion. Now listen carefully. When you finish praying in the morning, ask one more question. What is the first obedient act? Maybe it is sending the message you have been delaying. Maybe it is opening the hard project before checking lesser things. Maybe it is apologizing. Maybe it is closing a door you know should stay closed. Maybe it is beginning your work without waiting for the emotional weather to improve. Your 5-minute prayer must have a 5-minute obedience. That is how the soul learns trust. Brick by brick, step by step. You do not need to solve the entire month by 8 a.m. You need one clean action that proves your prayer was real. And if resistance shows up, good. Resistance is not a sign to stop. Resistance is often the weight that trains the muscle. Fire forges steel, it does not flatter it. And the disciplined life is forged the same way. So when your mind says later, answer it with movement. When your fear says not yet, answer it with one faithful action. Use the 5-minute rule. Give the meaningful task 5 minutes before anything shallow gets a vote. Many lives would change if people stopped asking whether they feel ready and started asking whether the next step is right. Obedience creates momentum. Lay one faithful brick. Do not despise small, orderly mornings. Do not sneer at repetition. Do not call consistency boring when inconsistency is what has been breaking your back. Most people want transformation to feel dramatic. They imagine one sermon, one prayer, one breakthrough, one burst of inspiration, and suddenly the whole building stands. But the truth is simple. Skyscrapers do not rise from excitement. They rise from sequence, from measurements honored, from bricks laid one by one. Your life is built the same way. Henry Ford did not place an automobile in every dreamer's driveway by worshiping complexity. He respected process. He studied sequence. He understood that when a system is clear, output becomes repeatable. People mock routine because they do not understand the power of accumulation. A garden does not bloom because you shouted at it once. It blooms because the soil was tended, the weeds were removed, and what was planted was revisited. Your thoughts are soil. Your habits are seeds. Your mornings are the climate. So stop waiting for a life-changing morning and build one. A faithful morning is simple. Pray, write, speak, move. Return tomorrow. That is not glamorous. It is government. It is the architecture of self-respect. And it is how God often reshapes a person who is tired of being moved by every mood. Today, choose one brick. Maybe it is 10 minutes in scripture. Maybe it is 1 page of journaling. Maybe it is 3 priorities written clearly. Maybe it is beginning the work before entertainment. Maybe it is refusing to reopen the apps that scatter your spirit before noon. One brick, then tomorrow another, then another. And after enough mornings, you will look up and realize the man or woman who once needed chaos to feel alive now needs order to feel honest. Pause. Great lives are laid daily. Reject borrowed measures. Comparison is one of the cruelest thieves ever welcomed into the mind. It smiles while it steals. It flatters while it corrodes. It makes a person forget the assignment by seducing him with someone else's applause. Most people think comparison is harmless information. No, comparison is often slow poison. It confuses value with visibility. It mistakes noise for significance. It trains you to inspect another person's harvest while neglecting your own field. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. Imagine that. The man later trusted with worlds of wonder was once dismissed by smaller eyes. If he had taken the verdict of shallow observers as the measure of his assignment, an empire of imagination would have died in the crib. Here's the thing. History remembers a few, not because they were compared less, because they obeyed more deeply than they listened. And you must do the same. The truth is simple. Validation begins within. Before the world believes in you, you must believe in yourself. That is not arrogance. That is stewardship. You are the center of your universe. Never forget it. That does not mean other people do not matter. It means responsibility begins in your own mind. It means you cannot let strangers, trends, metrics, and passing opinions sit on a throne God never built for them. You must reclaim the throne of your own mind. So audit the voices this morning. Not someday, this morning. Whose opinion has become louder than God's instruction? Whose success has made you ashamed of your own pace? Whose approval are you chasing so hard that your prayer life has become thin and your attention fractured? Write down 3 names. platforms, habits, or comparisons that weaken your peace. Then name 3 truths that restore it. My assignment is not late. My pace is not my worth. God did not ask me to become them. He asked me to become faithful. Comparison is a thief. Return faster than you fall. Now we come to a law of spiritual strength most people never learn. You are not ruined by a bad morning. You are ruined by refusing to recover from one. Most people think failure is falling off rhythm. No. Failure is choosing not to return. Failure is letting one weak hour write the story of the whole day. Failure is turning a stumble into an identity. Thomas Edison did not become a symbol of persistence because nothing went wrong. He became one because interruption never received final authority. Trial after trial, the man kept refining what others called futile. He understood that error is information if the spirit remains intact. And that is true for you. You may wake late. You may lose focus. You may get irritated. You may check the phone too soon. You may feel the old anxiety surge back in. Fine. Notice, confess it, reset quickly. Count yourself as a failure the moment you fail to recover. Do you hear the difference? Not when you slip, when you refuse to rise. This is why morning prayer matters so much. It teaches return. It trains humility. It reminds you that leadership over your day does not require perfection. It requires immediate realignment. A sharpened blade stays sharp because it is tended. A trained muscle stays strong because it is used and repaired. A lighthouse in a storm does not prevent the storm. It keeps direction visible in it. That is what prayer becomes in a hard day. Not an escape from weather, a fixed beam through it. So if the day gets away from you, stop. Even at noon, even at 3 p.m., close your eyes, take 1 minute. Say, God, I return, lead me again. And begin from there. Recovery is strength. Trust the unseen order. People want visible results fast. They want peace they can measure by breakfast, favor they can count by lunch, and certainty they can hold like a receipt. But God often works deeper than display. He orders what cannot first be photographed. Motives, focus, desire, interpretation, posture. Most people think the unseen is the less important realm. But here's the truth. The unseen is where outcomes are born. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet his greatest battles were inside the private chambers of thought, discipline, and interpretation. He knew that external command means little if the inner kingdom is in mutiny, and you are no different. The day is conquered inwardly before it is conquered outwardly. That is why morning prayer is not superstition. It is government of the invisible. It is the moment the soul stops kneeling before panic and kneels before God. It is the moment the architect draws the blueprint before the skyscraper of decisions begins to rise. It is the moment the river is given banks. It is the moment the fire is put in the furnace instead of the curtains. So trust what you cannot yet quantify. Trust the quiet strength you feel after surrender. Trust the cleaner edge in your thinking. Trust the fact that the temptation which would have mastered you yesterday now meets resistance because you entered the day governed. Today, after prayer, do not demand immediate fireworks. Walk steadily. Watch close. Notice how much unnecessary struggle disappears when the center holds. Pause. The unseen leads the scene. And behind every one of these principles lies one inner force. Not talent, not mood, not mere discipline. It is yielded authority. That is the hidden driver. That is why all of this works. When you put God first, you stop asking your emotions to govern what only surrender can govern. You stop making appetite the king. You stop making urgency the king. You stop making public opinion the king. You stop making fear the king. You hand the scepter back, and once authority is rightly placed, order begins to spread through the system. Thoughts line up. Choices simplify. Temptations lose some of their glamour. Peace becomes less fragile. Action becomes less theatrical and more durable. Pause. Put God first, and the rest of your day will find its order. Now let this go deeper than technique. This is not just a morning checklist. This is not just something efficient people do. This is about the person you are becoming. Because habits are never merely habits. They are identity in rehearsal. Each morning you are answering a question long before you say it out loud. Who leads here? Who rules here? Who gets first access to this mind, this mouth, this body, this ambition, this day? And if the answer keeps changing, your life will keep shaking. You were not made to live internally colonized by every passing impulse. You were not made to wake like a servant to chaos. You were not made to be tossed around by headlines, notifications, comparison, and fear. Comparison is a thief that robs you of joy and clouds your mind. So stop opening the door for it. Validation begins within. So stop begging strangers to certify what God has already assigned. You are the center of your universe. Never forget it. So take responsibility for what sits on the throne of your attention. Before the world believes in you, you must believe in yourself. So stop speaking about yourself as if heaven made a mistake. You must reclaim the throne of your own mind. That line is not poetic decoration. It is instruction. Because if you do not govern the inner room, someone else will furnish it. If you do not choose what enters, the loudest thing will enter. If you do not let God define the morning, the world will define the day. Now here's the truth. Many people want a new life while protecting the habits that built the old one. It cannot be done. A new day cannot be lived with an unexamined morning. A stronger future cannot be built on a scattered dawn. A faithful life cannot grow where the first and best attention is always sold cheaply. But you can change that. Not next month. Not when circumstances calm down. Not after one more season of drifting. Tomorrow morning. That is where your future is waiting. Not in some dramatic moment on a distant stage. In the quiet room. In the still first minutes. In the whispered prayer. In the written priority. In the spoken truth, in the obedient step, in the quick return. That is where the stronger self is born again and again. And if you do this long enough, something beautiful happens. People will think you became calmer. But what really happened is that you became governed. People will think you became luckier. But what really happened is that you stopped leaking power through disorder. People will think you became more gifted. But what really happened is that your gifts finally had a clear channel. They will see composure, they will see steadiness, they will see discernment, they will see quiet authority, and they will call it rare. But the truth is simple. It was built in private. It was built at dawn. It was built by a person who decided that God would not be consulted last. Put God first, and the rest of your day will find its order. So when morning comes, remember this. Do not rush to the world like a beggar. Rise like a steward. Do not let panic narrate your purpose. Do not let hurry baptize your habits. Do not let comparison set the price of your calling. Open your eyes and choose again. God first, then the day. God first, then the work. God first, then the conversation. God first, then the battle. God first, then the blessing. That is not passivity. That is power ranged correctly. That is a life no longer being lived from the outside in, but from the inside out. And one day you will look back and realize the mornings you once considered small were the hinges of your destiny. Because your home feels different now. Your work feels different now. Your decisions feel cleaner now. Your spirit feels harder to rattle now. Your future has already started responding to a mind that no longer wakes up leaderless. Stop drifting. Stop bargaining. Start obeying. Decide who you will be before the day tells you who to be. Stand up as a person led, not pushed. Walk forward as a soul governed, not scattered. And by tonight, you will feel it. By next month, you will see it. By next year, the people around you will wonder when everything began to change. And you will know it began in the first quiet moments when you put God first and let Him lead your day. Pause, let God lead. When God leads your morning, peace stops being accidental. Your first thoughts decide the quality of your day. A rushed dawn creates a restless life. Prayer is not delay. It is direction. The first voice in your morning should be God's. Speed without direction is just expensive confusion. A governed mind wastes less life. You cannot ask God to bless a day He was never invited to lead. Speak truth before the world speaks fear. Your words train your attention. Faith is not noise. It is alignment. A 5-minute prayer deserves a 5-minute obedience. Confidence often follows movement. Obedience creates momentum that emotion never can. Great days are built before breakfast. Skyscrapers rise one faithful brick at a time. Consistency feels small until it changes everything. Your habits are identity in rehearsal. Comparison makes you abandon your own assignment. Validation begins within before it appears without. Your pace is not your worth. Borrowed voices build borrowed lives. You must reclaim the throne of your own mind. The loudest voice should not own your life. A stumble is not failure. Refusing to return is. Recovery is a discipline of the strong. Reset quickly and move again. The unseen world governs the visible one. Inner order always precedes outer impact. Peace is a byproduct of surrender. You do not need a dramatic morning, only a faithful one. A directed life begins in a quiet room. Before the world believes in you, believe with God. God first brings everything else into place. The day goes differently when the soul kneels first. First minutes shape final outcomes. The life you want is built at dawn. Put God first before anything. This morning changes everything. Start your day led by God. While your mornings keep failing, the first minutes decide all morning motivation as Christian motivation. YouTube Shorts. Morning prayer, faith motivation reels, God first, motivation speech, TikTok motivation. This message is a calm but urgent call to begin each day under divine leadership instead of mental drift. Put God first, and the rest of your day will find its order. In this faith-centered motivational narration, the listener is guided away from reactive mornings, anxious thinking, comparison, and scattered effort, and toward a life built on prayer, surrender, clear priorities, disciplined speech, and obedient action. Woven through the message are simple but powerful turning points. Guard the first minute. Choose direction before speed. Speak life before noise. Move with your prayer. Lay one faithful brick. Reject borrowed measures. Return faster than you fall, and trust the unseen order. These principles are not presented as techniques alone, but as the architecture of a stronger identity. A person who lets God lead the morning reclaims the throne of the mind and walks through the day with peace, courage, and spiritual clarity.